All right, let's talk about another Emerson knife. The packaging is just really plain and basic. The knife comes in a little plastic bag inside of a little cardboard box, and there is some paperwork and a sticker inside. So minimal packaging, but that's okay. This is the model, the Yangtze Jack SF Tiger, and I don't know how you pronounce it, and I know the way I am pronouncing it is incorrect. When Emerson made this knife, it made him think of a movie called Sand Pebbles with Steve McQueen about the U.S. Navy patrolling the Yangtze River in China. Don't know why. Didn't really explain why that made him think of that, but it made him think of that, so that's why he named it this. It's a pretty cool knife. This is a new version that just came out with the G10 scales. Now, what we think it is a jade G10 with the tiger stripes on the bottom side so that it shows through. It's kind of hard to tell for sure, but yeah, it's kind of, you can see the lines are full thickness of the scale somehow. So I don't know exactly how that's made, but it looks kind of cool. Alex saw this online and just had to rush out and buy it. Now, again, what's cool, and I've talked about before, is on most Emerson knives, he uses just standard hardware, flathead screwdriver, and just a number 1 Phillips head, which I think is super cool because it makes it very user-friendly out in the world, out in the field, out in the camping, out in the whatever you are doing. You can service this knife. You don't need special Torx bits. You don't need proprietary pivot tool that you may not carry around in your pocket with you all the time. You know, you could literally tighten this pivot or loosen the pivot with another knife if you needed to, right? So it makes it very utilitarian and very convenient. Now, this is not my favorite model. I'm not a huge Emerson fan just because they're really basic user worker knives. Now, I use my knives, but I like a little bit of refinement to them, if you will. You know, a little bit more fancy, a little bit more higher end or exotic materials, things like that. I'm also not a huge thumb disc person. And with every Emerson, for no extra charge, you get free lock stick on almost every knife. Okay? That is just a free added bonus that comes for free. Now, it does, the thumb disc, you can't really get there to reverse flick it. The pocket clip is almost as long as the knife. But all in all, it's very cool, very functional, very utilitarian. It feels really good in the hand. You do feel that pocket clip, but it's not really a hot spot. I mean, you feel it, but it's okay. All right, let's talk about some of the specs. It's 4.5 inches closed, 7 3/4 overall with a 3.4 inch blade. It is 154 cm, and I think pretty much every knife that Emerson makes is 154 cm. That is his go-to blade steel for sure. There may be one here or there that I'm not aware of, so, you know, sue me if you come up with one in the comments that was out of something else. But generally speaking, they are all 154 cm. This weighs in at 4 ounces. I think it's a cool knife. It is his V grind. So there is a secondary bevel here, but no real secondary bevel on the backside. But there is this first bevel. Okay, so it's not a chisel grind, but it is a V grind, which is a little different than your standard, traditional, typical knife edge. You know, and that's very common. That's what he uses most of the time. These are made in the United States. Give you a close-up here of the knife. You can see that main grind, secondary bevel, and a little bit, like you can't even really tell there's a bevel over here. You can see some belt satin finish on it, which is cool. Stonewashing blade. The scales, this is brand new, but the pocket clip is kind of that stonewashed finish as well, which I think is just cool. It really lends itself to being a user when it doesn't come in perfect, pristine, no marks on it. If this was perfectly pristine, you may think twice. Even a nice finishing on the inside of the liners there, which is actually really cool. Just noticing that as I'm walking around it with you folks. Okay, nice barrel spacers. And then the normal hardware that we see on the front. Access to the lock bar is great, but there is that lock stick almost every single time, even a little bit when you just barely lock it open. Oftentimes when you give it a good whack, and that's when you're going to get more lock stick in a knife in general. So, but yeah, they come that way standard. So something to always look forward to and know you're going to get the lock stick. Okay, here it is next to the Sharpie and the Spyderco Delica. How about the Kubi KB237? One of my favorite budget knives out there in that $40 and under range. It's got a little smudge on it because I use that quite a bit for unboxings and stuff like that. So if you're looking for something along these lines, these are still available out at retailers. You can find it at your favorite retailer and go from there. Alex from the Watch and Cut Gear channel sent this in to me. So thank you, Alex. Thank you all. Have yourselves a fantastic day.